Good morning, everyone. It's Rhonda here once again from the Salem, Ohio Public Library. I want to share a little bit of information with you about internet safety, and today we are doing a part two. This is just a follow-up from my video last week where I went over a little bit about dating apps and social media scams. For today, we are going to learn a little bit more about pop-ups. So imagine that you're just kind of sitting there in the morning with your coffee or your tea. Perhaps you're checking some email or checking your social media, and then all of a sudden you start getting something that looks like this when you visit a website, or maybe like this, or any of these. Now, you may not have come across all of these, but at some point you've certainly come across at least one of them. But what's really scary is when we get something like this. Now, this is a pop-up for an Apple product, but most of us have somehow gotten one of these from our Windows operating system. Usually it's under the disguise now as a Windows Defender type of thing. So here, this looks super scary. It looks like you have some sort of virus. It's bold and in red. It's meant to grab your attention, and it's definitely meant to bring a little fear into you. So at this point, as you could see at the bottom, there is a scan now button that these types of hackers are just hoping and praying that you are going to click that button. And once you click that button, it gives them full access to have you download whatever malicious malware that they have in mind. So we are going to go over a little bit about how you can learn the difference between a legitimate virus warning and a fake virus warning. But first, let's understand a little bit more about pop-ups. So what is a pop-up? In most cases, pop-ups are used for advertising, whether it's an online retail, whether it's free programs looking for donations, or it could be a security system or program that you have installed on your computer already. Many companies use this method of advertising to grab your attention and redirect you from one website to another, which is usually their own. The technical terms for pop-ups is actually a graphical user interface, or a GUI. It's a display area, usually a small window that suddenly appears or pops up. The pop-up window containing an advertisement is usually generated by something called JavaScript, which is a coding program that uses cross-site scripting. So I don't know about you, but I am not a huge fan of all this technical lingo. So I don't really know much about XSSI, which is what the scripting acronym is, I guess. But sometimes there is a secondary payload that actually uses Adobe Flash, which most of our computers have equipped. They can also be generated by other vulnerabilities or security holes in browser security. And there's also another variation of this, which is called a pop under. The pop under opens a new browser window under the active window. They usually don't interrupt the user immediately, but they appear when you close out of the website that you're on. And then all of a sudden, when you do that, you see an ad below that, and you're like, where did that come from? So that's another variation of a pop-up. So are they harmful? Well, not all pop-ups are used for advertising purposes. The ones that are meant for advertising, those are generally not harmful to your computer. Instead, all it really does is collect the information that you put into that pop-up. And sometimes we can end up in data breaches. Like, so if a big company had a data breach and you have your email because maybe you signed up for a newsletter, then the person or the hackers or whoever it was that initiated that data breach will now have your email, and perhaps maybe some basic demographic information if that was asked of you on the advertisement. However, there are other ones that actually have a lot more of a malicious intent. Pop-up ads can also be used by hackers who exploit vulnerabilities in a browser's security. Clicking on one of the dangerous pop-ups could install a Trojan horse that unloads other malicious applications on your system. It provides the hacker with the ability to access any confidential data, such as tax information or passwords to your bank account. So, this means clicking on a pop up ad can be dangerous because it could download malware to your device. And when hackers create fake website pop up ads, they try to infect your device with malware. That's actually called malvertising. I do kind of get a kick out of the terminology for some of these, but they are very real dangers to your computer and your personal information. So, how could we avoid these? So, if you are really concerned about it, you can definitely pay for a premium security software. Just remember that a free version will never be as effective as a paid solution, as the majority of freeware programs have a difficult time detecting newer pop up scripts. While many web browsers come with integrated tools, they too will slip and allow a few pop ups to slide past. We suggest reading a couple of product reviews. You want to make sure that you're properly closing out your browser. Now, this is incredibly important if whatever ad is popping up, especially if it's one of those scary ones saying that you have a virus. Do not click any buttons that say close this window or click here to get more information. Anything that provides a button within that frame is not something you want to click. Really, what you want to do is you want to either use a taskbar, which is usually done with Control Alt Delete. You press all three of those buttons on your keyboard, and you can then open up this task menu. And at that point, you can go ahead and just close everything out that way, and that should help you have a nice clean slate. If that isn't an option, and I have seen this before where people's computers have almost acted frozen, what you want to do is try hitting the escape button on your keyboard, which is the ESC. And what that does is it takes it from a full screen pop up and it brings it to just being a regular tab. And then you can then hit the X like you do up at the top on the tab, like you do with any other browser. And so that's a for sure way that you can get out of that without actually clicking anything inside that might download some bad stuff onto your computer. When you restart your browser, don't reopen the previous tabs. So let's say that you went to walmart.com and you were just kind of shopping around a little bit. And then all of a sudden you close out of that and there is a pop under ad that just shows up and doesn't seem to want to go away. So what should you do in that case? You would definitely go ahead and make sure you hit the X that's on top in the browser area, or you try your task menu again. And once you're out of that, make sure that you don't go directly back to the Walmart website because it's possible that there's something going on their end and they have to have some time to fix that security before people can safely go ahead and navigate that once more. Do not enter any personal information and double check that numbers are legit by doing a quick Google search. So, one thing that I've come across at the library was that a patron came in and their entire screen was filled up by this big Windows Defender virus threat type of thing. And they were really afraid to do anything, so they brought it in. Well, on that ad, it basically said make sure that you call this specific Microsoft or Windows Defender number, and we will troubleshoot this for you and help you get it taken care of. Well, I went on my computer and I Googled that number, and the first thing that popped up was that it was a scam. So before you make any kind of phone calls or you follow any of the advice that pops up on some of this, make sure that you're using your phone or another device to just do a quick Google search And people will have no problem letting you know that they found out maybe the hard way that certain things are scams. Okay, everybody, I hope that was helpful, and please join us next week where we will talk a little bit more about social media scams and how we can identify some of those in our everyday lives. All right, everybody, have an excellent afternoon and have a great day.